Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing so-called COVID visas. What these really are is a discretionary use of the authority by Thai immigration officers to provide further lawful status in Thailand to those whom they deem it necessary based on the overall circumstances, based on the current situation, involving the pandemic and inability to travel, etc. A recent article from the Pattaya Mail, that's pattayamail.com, brought this to my attention. Article is titled, Thailand's 60 Days COVID Immigration Extensions Now in Doubt. I urge folks who are watching this video, go check out pattayamail.com and read this article in detail. A lot more in here, not just talking about this overall topic. Quoting directly, the special dispensation which has allowed short-stay foreign tourists to remain in Thailand since spring last year, 18 months ago, could be drawing to a close. The final date for obtaining yet another 2 months permission is September 27th, which means that the scheme would peter out in late November. And sort of what the author's saying there is, if you get a new one in September, if you re-extend in September, that status will last even if the program is not renewed October 1. So somebody who got an extension in, for example, September 30, it'd go out 60 days and they would basically have to leave November 28th or 29th, and that's hypothetical circumstances. Quoting further, the scheme was introduced by the Thai government when land borders closed and international air travel became badly dislocated. Quoting further, the immigration authorities have not formally stated the future of the scheme, but there are scores of reports nationwide of some foreigners being told, quote, it's time to go home, unquote. A call to the Immigration 1178 hotline brought the response that, whilst the COVID extensions are still available nationally, the decision is in the hands of the local interviewing officer. And that's a key point, too. This is at officer discretion. We've seen these denied. There's been circumstances we've seen where Thai immigration officers have said, no, we're not going to do that. Basically, the individual at that time was told, I don't believe that you can't go home. The officer had apparently read something or seen something that said that that person could leave. And, we ended up having to deal with it through another method and getting it sort of sorted out. But yeah, these are ultimately at officer discretion. And this, quote, it's time to go home, unquote, these reports of this, I've kind of been hearing some similar things from folks that have corresponded with us, that they've said that, increasingly the officers that are issuing these are starting to scrutinize, how many of these have been issued and why can't you return, what's your nationality? Obviously that's kind of self-evident, but they kind of ask, why is this going on, etc. So best advice, in my opinion, is those that can get into a permanent status, do it sooner rather than later. If you can get into any kind of permanent status, if your circumstances are such you can find a non-immigrant visa that will provide long-term status, do that. You're better off being in that than trying to maintain status on an ad hoc basis. The other thing, again, best advice is those who can't and just are stuck in the situation they're in, it's not a foregone conclusion that the scheme is going to be re-extended come October. And in fact, I think with more and more talk of Greater Bangkok reopening and these sandboxes and things, clearly reopening is in the air. The discussion of it, at least, is in the air. I think the more likely that is, and the closer we get to that time, the more likely it is we're going to see this program essentially extinguished, essentially at that moment.